The views and opinions expressed on the Loud Minorities Podcast are ours alone and do not reflect those of any other entity or individual. So, if you love what we say, great. If not, take it up with your mama. Comment below, or just start your own podcast. So anyways, let's get to yapping. Yo, welcome everybody. This is DeBray Sanders, and welcome to the Loud Minorities Podcast, where we cover news, sports, and media. We are some loud and progressive minorities, so let's turn up the volume and get to yapping. How's it going, Chadwick?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Just trying to find out whether or not J. Cole's still the GOAT. Answer is yes.
Cap. What's going on with you?
That is a hot take. I have no idea what you're talking about. Could you care to elaborate, Sir Chadwick?
Oh, I've been saving this one. Y'all been disrespecting my guy for way too long. I understand he did not stay in the beef, but from one of our submitted questions, thank you to all those who follow us on Instagram and submit questions, was whether or not J. Cole is part of the big three, and if so, what are his standouts as far as projects and such go? I think for the first part, he's obviously still part of the big three. Whether or not you want to rank him third, I would disagree with that ranking, but hey, big three has already been decided. It was just a generational thing. There were a lot of people that came up at that time, and the only three we still talk about from that era are Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick, and they're one of the few of that era that still still technically the big three. Like, we can't, because you won't let me put Future in there, so don't even get me started.
I would take Drake out, and Drake is not in my top three.
So Drake fell out of it?
Yeah.
But the big three
Drake was never in my top three.
Thus far.
I think it'd be good for us to first define what is the big three.
So the big three for everybody is like we don't get to decide it anymore. Was the big three artists of a generation of the 2010s when we were transitioning in the mixtape era and blog era from away from the earlier institutions of like XXL and Source. You started getting more blogs, more mixtapes, and you started seeing this new generation of rappers crop up. One of those three being that were christened or uplifted by the previous greats. Drake got the Wayne and Young Money cosign. J. Cole had the Jay-Z and Rockefeller cosign. Kendrick had the West Coast cosign. So you had three new artists that were co-signed from the three major stars from three major regions of hip-hop, picking essentially the next up, which is why they're the big three. There were others that tried to be part of it, as far as Big Sean goes, Wale. There were other artists that were talented that came up a little bit later, like the Tyler Creators and Futures, who, even though you could say could qualify as some of the best rappers out, they weren't part of the big three because they got bigger after them. So that's why they're called the big three. That's also why Nicki was bigger than them, and also it is technically gendered because she would probably be the other candidate for big three, as she also blew up around that time. But that's just been the big three has been decided. It's been Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. That's the three people have been cited as the big, GOAT candidates of our generation at the time. So we're just going with the nomenclature. That being said, if you just want to name three best rappers, that's another whole another topic. But that is the big three.
I think so. My point being is that Drake was never in the top three because I never considered him to actually be a rapper. He's been a pop star. I mean, like, that's just the reality of like the situation. Like, he's never been like really respected in hip hop. Like, he gets respected because he sold records, and not even records. He sold streaming. Like, and he got the streams from the white people. Like, in this, like, if you ask somebody what's your top three rappers right now, unless they're a weirdo, Drake ain't in it.
Right now is a little biased. You chose the worst time.
I mean, even if you go 5 years ago, like, I mean, like, Drake ain't,
like, yeah, right
even
now.
if you go a few years ago, Drake hasn't dropped good music, and he hasn't dropped good music since Obama was president.
But here we are, true. Yeah, I mean,
he gets streamed, but like I'm not talking about streams, because streams aren't always indicative of how good somebody is, right? Like, we know we can like. Because we know that the industry, like, that's why he sued, because they used his own strategy against him. But, so like it's like they be pumping them numbers, but we know that Kendrick has been good because it's classic. It's top 10 top 5 album all time. It's classic. Like, he literally can't miss, right? And then we see Drake, trash album. But they have 20 something songs.
Album. He had some good, bro. We were all there in 2016.
He dropped the house music album.
We were all there in 2016.
Yeah, he had some last good album.
And this is the thing. Here you are talking about Drake. The question was J. Cole. Like, suck the hater energy away. Goodness gracious. We just defined what the big three was. And you over here.
And J. Cole is probably
We were there. We know who the big three is. So, Uriel, please continue.
He's like the Drake hate blind the conversation about J. Cole.
It's just Big Kendrick. That's it.
Now, if you ask for my ultimate conclusion, I agree. Fuck the big three. It's just Big Me, right? I agree. Kendrick is at the top. However, to add on to the conversation that Chadwick started about the big three, I do think an additional prong to that was that each one of them had their own unique lane for a case for goatness, right? Whatever camp you're in, you could arguably make that case during the 2010s, right? However, I feel recent events, in particular this last year, really cleared it up that J. Cole no longer has that claim. When you look at all of the, I would say, bars for like the last 10 years, whether it was Fire Camp, Middle Child, he had multiple claims where he was saying, I'm the greatest. I'm counting the bullets. I'm loading my clips. There's no way around it no more. I'm the greatest.
No
he kept saying that over and over again, right? But the second the smoke actually came, he folded like a lawn chair. I do not believe
like clothes. He folded like the clothes in that song and from that album.
Facts. He did. But when you ask, can he still have a claim to the GOAT? I don't think so. No. I think, unironically, he has fallen off.
So unironically, why? Like, oh yeah, because he's about to drop the classic album, The Fall Off, soon. I mean,
it's hard to call something a classic when it hasn't been released. But yeah, to your point,
I don't know, man. He kind of walks into double platinum features. I don't know.
He has the upcoming Fall Off album, so I think it's ironic. I think he's falling off now.
Crazy. I just have a quick question for y'all. What is the last J. Cole project you listened to?
Might delete this most recent one that he had. Yeah, might delete this later. And he did delete the songs.
You're in the middle one of song.
And he should have deleted all of them. They weren't that good.
So let me make my case. Song. This is why I'm mad Kenny not here.
From that project.
Because I'm over here with some people.
To be wrong with you?
No, because this is the reason I asked. Because y'all over here copping out. Because I remember when we was all there. And y'all over here talking about, I don't even listen to J. Cole like that with such a strong opinion of his discography. I'll start off. Why is he the big three?
I have listened.
That's the energy I got.
His projects. It's
truly yours. Truly yours too.
While I'm on my
warm up.
That's a different conversation.
Friday Night Lights.
Fire.
2014 Forest Hill Drive.
2014
All Season. Born Sinner. KOD. Might delete later.
KOD was kind of mediocre. Like
every single time.
It was more of a message.
We name an album. Yeah. Y'all are like, oh, cool, banger, but he ain't big three. Who else has that track record? It's over a decade of music.
But one other person. The words, bro. Like I didn't say classic
one other
for most
person.
Of those. I said Kendrick, classic. So, and I'm not even saying he's not. I didn't say he's not big number 3 or number 2. I'm just saying that he's not in the GOAT conversation.
How many rappers have diamond records? Do you know how much Sexy had diamond record?
Isn't like 10 million?
How many number one singles does J. Cole have?
I'll have to double check for number one singles, but you want to say he has 2 diamonds.
Had one.
Number one's is kind of.
Number one's
first-person shooter with Drake.
Number one's is more pop. Like,
number one's is like even Kendrick took forever to get number one. I feel like the only one who has number one is Drake.
Kendrick was by far the best rapper. Didn't have number one. Like
I mean, I know
but what I'm trying to say is that they all had their different lanes in where they excelled, right? Like no one hit it all across the board. Like Drake only had critical acclaim with one album or two.
No, this is
Kendrick's claim.
No, critical acclaim is J. Cole's music is the thing that he has. I guess as a knock for numbers is that he has a constantly growing, massive, super loyal fan base. The man can drop an album with no promo and go double platinum. Even if none of the songs, quote unquote, chart number 1, people continually buy it, buy the merch, stream it, and interact with it over months.
A lot of people have insomnia.
Like Middle Child, say whatever. Middle Child is a diamond record. Like, I mean, y'all over here giggling about it, but a lot of your favorite rappers and artists aren't that popular. A song that never went number 1 is Diamond. A lot of people go number 1 and disappear. And if you want to go make it about numbers, the only rapper that's all the numbers really is Drake, and none of us are hyping him up right now.
Numbers don't.
No, that's why I'm saying like Uriel going into that. I
opened this up with that, dog.
I agree.
I'm just saying like
talking about Uriel.
I'm judging it off the music. Like I just said, like I don't agree. I just don't think he can be in the GOAT conversation because of the way that hip hop works. Right? Hip hop is a sport. Hip hop is a lot of times when you. It's about the being able to outdo your competitors, right? Drake has never really been in that competition because he's just really been about putting up numbers. He's like the player that just keeps stuffing the stat sheet but never actually wins a championship. That's what Drake is, right? He's a player on a bad team that stuffs the stat sheet. J. Cole is a player he's like Larry Fitzgerald, amazing, really consistent, like
insane.
Larry Fitzgerald is one of the greatest receivers to ever step on a football field.
I know. I do remember Fitzgerald.
And I feel the same way about J. Cole. He's one of the greatest rappers ever.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Like, hey, y'all never watched the game? Like, ladies and gentlemen, we're living like Larry when he mossed somebody in the end zone. Y'all wasn't in.
I guess we wasn't in the trenches like that. Larry Fitzgerald.
Y'all don't love football like I do. It's okay.
I really don't. I'm not going front. If you make that like NBA terms,
like
or
I'm
UFC,
trying to think of an equivalent because Larry Fitzgerald is nice. Like I'm not gonna I don't mean as a disrespect. Larry Fitzgerald go crazy.
Larry Fitzgerald, no, and it's also because Larry Fitzgerald. Like I have no idea how good Larry Fitzgerald was.
So was he like Hakeem the Dream kind of thing or what?
No, so he was a little different, but he was like, so he was at receiver, dominating entire games.
He played also one team,
and he played for the Cardinals. He went to multiple Super Bowls, and on both of those, no, I think he went to one. But like in the playoffs, this was a wide receiver, a dependent position, carrying his team. When he was in the Super Bowl versus Steelers, this dude was the best player on the field by a standard deviation. There are Hall of Famers on that field, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not saying that J. Cole isn't amazing. I'm saying J. Cole has been really, really great, and there are times when he has been at the top of his game, and I'm like, fuck, he just might be like that. But he was never able to reach that mountaintop for one reason or another. And then I can't even say he's Larry because like Larry was always like he would always go out great. He would always like even if he lost, he'd be amazing. But like. To be in this beef, to be on the song that started it, and then to drop a trash diss record where you're lying, like you're lying about like
everyone lies on diss records,
but like he couldn't even he lied so much that he couldn't even believe
he literally deleted it.
Like he literally
more information came out. He
didn't just delete it. He lied on the record about how good Kendrick's music was. Then
everyone
he literally got on. That's not the same. Lying on a diss record is different than lying on a diss record.
Jay-Z in karate.
Dog. He got up on
33 in a karate class.
No, my spirit.
Show me a picture of Jay-Z in a karate gi.
My spirit. Now I can't live like this.
Show me
this nigga.
Jay-Z in a karate class.
And then he said, "I apologize," and then deletes the song, and then just shuts up for the rest of the beat. So like, it's not like he lied and then just got out rapped. He said, "I don't even want to do this no more. This don't feel right." What?
All right, so to bring it back to the topic, so does that mean he's still in the big three though? That was question one.
He's still in the big
three
today because today doesn't have as many great rappers. Like Black Thought is probably above him. Black Thought is one of the
Black Thought is one of the greatest rappers of all time. That's like
you just not going.
That's not a fair comparison. You can say that to anybody.
That's what I'm saying, though.
I said like
that's what I'm saying,
better than Kendrick. I could say Black Thought is better than Kendrick and not be wrong. That's like you're comparing them to Black Thought. That's insane.
But like you have to fight.
J. Cole is in the GOAT conversation. Like my whole thing about it is
there's a different conversation. When I brought up Black Thought, you were like, "Oh shit, never mind."
That doesn't mean J. Cole. I've been saying J. Cole's in the GOAT conversation. I'm just saying that the only people you've been comparing him to are other people who are all-time great. So how are you not in it?
That's the whole point of the big three. That's the whole point.
I don't think that the
gap
between them is that much.
Arguable case for
GOAT. But they're clearly better. If you let me make a gap, he can't be the GOAT. It's like saying,
I'm not saying there's a gap. That's the difference. That is where we differ. I have listened to all the discography of all these people.
Dog, when I said Black Thought, you were like, man, that's not a fair comparison. But this is a GOAT conversation. If I'm bringing up one of the GOATs, and you're like, that's not fair.
Because the fair comparison, why I'm saying it's not a fair comparison.
My bad.
I know, right? Why I'm saying it's not a fair comparison is you go from saying, oh my God, J. Cole is out of the big three, so he's not that great of a rapper. He's Larry Fitzgerald, so he's. Let me continue. Let me say what I'm hearing. He's Larry Fitzgerald, so he's an all-time great for one team, but just never in the cracking the list of best wide receivers of all time. Just Hall of Fame. This is you. This is you. I know how good Larry Fitzgerald is. I know how good Larry Fitzgerald is.
My brother in Christ, he is top 5 at a minimum. He is a top 5 receiver all time at a minimum. Like, hey, you wrong.
We're not doing it.
Like, we'll get to that when we talk about sports.
We'll do that another time.
We'll get to that because that's crazy.
It's like when I look at J. Cole, it's like, one, to call and say he can't be the GOAT so early doesn't make sense because he has bar for bar become a phenomenally better rapper over time. Like his last song, Clouds, was phenomenal. Might Delete Later, bar for bar, has some of the best rapping flows, tonalities. He's becoming way and way better, and I just don't want to call it because I think of other older rappers like Nas and Jay-Z who have dropped some of the best albums of their career in their 50s. I don't know if y'all been following like King's Disease series.
444 was fantastic.
444 is a
Nas's
hip-hop
recent releases
classic.
are remarkable.
After Jay-Z
also,
dropped
like,
3 or 4 albums,
I don't want to
their
get in a GOAT conversation like that for either.
You see, and that's
But
why.
they also
And this is
sell
where
business.
Jay-Z is like Kobe because you could argue that there was never a year where he was the best, right? Like you could have that argument, right? And I just don't think I think the best requires a significant period of dominance. Like you say that, like I will say that J. Cole is probably in the top 10 rappers of all time.
14 to 15 was his dominance.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think that 14 to 15, and then if you count his mixtape run, J. Cole had 2 eras of dominance. The mixtape run was dominant, and then he had his 14-15, because 2014 Forest Hills Drive, we were all there. Like, let's not act like that wasn't massive.
But again, that's one year for an album. And then,
that's more than most rappers get.
I don't think anyone's disputing that
Kendrick
he has
Lamar
had great
has been the best rapper for at least 10 years. He only drops once, like twice, like he only
and that's
dropped
where
like 3 times.
And that's where we differ, because like I feel like we'll have to move on, but again, one of the times we have to discuss like what we believe makes someone the best rapper, because I'm looking at everything from wholesale, from dominance, talent, skill set, what they rap about, how they rap about it, to a degree, popularity. I agree numbers are not everything, but they do have to be some sort of reference before we start digging into like I would start saying Project Pat and Missy Elliott are in my top 10, but y'all would look at me crazy because their popularity just does not match the same. You see, you already looked at me crazy.
Like Missy.
But I'm like, bar for bar, pen for pen, song for song.
Like, that's a little. That's
she's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame for a reason, man. She wrote some of your favorite R&B and rap songs.
Songwriters versus being a rapper is different, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but she wrote our words and wrote other people's
and
raps.
I agree that a lot of those factors are very important. But you
can't being a great songwriter doesn't elevate your rapping.
Being a rapper gets you into the Songwriting Hall of Fame. She was that good of a rapper.
Having a good pen is remarkable and really helps you with that, right? But at least for me personally, I think that you can't dispute that J. Cole has amazing technical acumen for rapping. I think going back to Dubray's point about this is a competitive sport, when you look at the best rappers of all time, a lot of them had to actually be battle tested and held up to it when they were put to pressure. Whether it was Ice Cube with No Vaseline, Tupac, Hit 'Em Up, 50 Cent and Ja Rule going back and forth. Even Pusha T.
50 Cent and G Unit.
Right?
Let's not forget the Game versus G Unit. That's a classic beef.
Yeah. Exactly, right? But all of those were not just technical acumen. You stood on your record, you protected
Very true.
what your integrity was as a rapper, as an artist, and you went to combat and fight on your front. You don't just stay in the phone booth and just do rapidy raps all day, saying, I'm the best, but the second someone presses you don't defend it. That's why I'm saying you can't be in the GO conversation.
To end it on this one, I do understand that, and in like 99% of it, I agree. I just disagree in that I feel that a lot of that beef was purely between Drake and Kendrick or the like, because from other interviews that came out, Schoolboy Q and other rappers told J. Cole, like, bro, this is not like a rap beef. When J. Cole made First Person Shooter, because he dropped the record and everybody's like, oh, you don't understand, like, this is going to get ugly. And what happened? Drake said that Kendrick Lamar beats his partner and lies about it, and Drake got called a pedophile. Why is J. Cole in the middle of that? That is not. He repeatedly said, "Let's keep it rap." They were not going to do that. That was a very, very personal beef. Want to go through
all the lyrics of those prior briefs I was mentioning? Like 50 Cent was talking about erasing the family of Ja Rule.
So I know we got to go on.
We'll move on. But you're right.
But like, I gotta say, like, just two quick things, right? One. J. Cole never had to get involved in the beef from the beginning. He did, and he realized that he made a mistake, And that's part of it. He came out with a bad record, and he made a mistake even being in the first place. Also, when we talk about runs, Kendrick's run from 2011 to 2022, it is insane. From
Crazy
Section 80 to Mr. Morale and the Big Step, you can say it from 2012 with Good Kid, Mad City to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Diabolical. So I just want, like, when we talk about runs over a 10-year period, he went on off. And that's not even including mixtapes. So this is Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, and Mr. Morale. I mean, I would just say that 7-year stretch of To Pimp a Butterfly to Damn to Mr. Morale. I think that's the greatest 3-album stretch of a rapper's career. That's my personal opinion. I think To Pimp a Butterfly is probably the best album I've heard in my life, and it's probably top 3 at worst all records albums of all time. So when we talk about dominance, that's what I'm talking about. He was clearly the best. Nobody could debate that if you were being serious. So like I get that 14 Hit Forest Hill Drive dropped in 2014. If you could, that does not hold a fucking candle to Spin a Butterfly. That's what I'm talking about in terms of dominance. And I get we can move on. I know next week we'll talk about rap, going through all the Kendrick's albums and ranking them. But I guess
round
we can
2
also
with Kenny when he comes back. But
he'll be wrong too about putting J. Cole above.
I mean, these are just times. I understand it. These are the times like I remember y'all grew up in California. I'm from Tennessee, and these are these differences of growing up around different music. Hey man, like y'all heard my top 5. I had Outkast and stuff. Like I got way more.
I respect Outkast. That's a solid.
I'm just saying, salute to Kendrick, but I guess J. Cole just hits more of the music I grew up listening to. That might be my bias. Like I admit, like at the end of the day, GOAT conversation comes down to bias, right? And speaking of bias, man, one of the things I'm wondering is this MVP vote. I think it's Shea. Well, we're talking about the most valuable player of the National Basketball Association, also known as the NBA. The 2 leaders of this race currently are Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, or also known as the King of Aura, and Jokic. I want to go home to my horses. The 3-time MVP hunting for his 4th.
Is it 3?
Tough conversations will be had. Oh wait, 2 to 3. This will this not be his 4th, or am I counting?
I think this is his 3rd, right? Or
my bad.
His 3.
My bad.
If he gets it would
Wait,
be his 3rd.
Let me see. Google. Let's Google. We'll do our Googles. Also, fuck Google.
Yeah, he's got 2. So this will be his 3rd.
Oh, he got 2. Okay, so this be 3.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
All right.
No, he has 3. He has 3.
Yeah, I thought he had. Okay, so
he won.
Going for a 4th.
Yep.
I don't. Yeah. So I guess I'll jump off quick. This shouldn't take too long. I think it should be Shea, mainly because the offensive metrics, obviously they favor Jokic on like the baseline, but the advanced metrics generally favor Shea in terms of like the super advanced metrics that have been previously used to be in support of Jokic winning MVP. I also have a really big issue with the way that Jokic is covered. I think he's the best player in the NBA, but he is worse than James Harden.
Respect on the employee of the week, Nikola Jokic.
He is the most employee of the week. I'm just here to get paid type player. I love that. He's one of my favorite players. But the way that he's being covered is really, really annoying. In that, like he never gets any of the critique that we gave James Harden when he was putting up those insane numbers. Obviously, he has a championship, and that changes the math a little bit in terms of how we talk about him. But he does not play any defense at all. Like it's honestly worse because he's a big and he's in the paint, still not even trying. So like it's as a guard, like if you let somebody get past you, or if you're like sagging off to try to save energy, it's a little different. But to be a big and not even really be rim protecting like that, obviously he's really big, so he can get some steals here and there. But his defense is awful. Shea is a really, 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 really good defender. He's like
all NBA
elite, if not right below it. And their numbers on offense are similar. And in the Thunder, they've had more injuries, and they're by far the best team in the NBA right now in terms of wins and losses. So I think it has to be Shea, because when we blamed other teams for losses, for not being top of the conference, I mean, I think personally LeBron should be in the MVP conversation way more than he is, because he's the reason the Lakers are the second seed in the West right now. Like honestly, they have Jokic, they have Luka, and LeBron is still the best player. I will die on that hill. Like, because the first game LeBron was gone, they lost. Luka had a great game, they still couldn't win a game. So I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like he's 40 fucking years old.
He's
40.
40.
He's 40 years old. He's 4 years post. I'm 36. He's 4 years post. I'm 36.
And he should
still,
get. He should get that talk.
I think he should be in the MVP conversation. He's playing better defense than Jokic is right now. At 50 years old, with a better record.
I agree with that take.
I think he should be above Jokic, but Jokic is getting because he's the best player, and he's putting up insane video game numbers that haven't translated really to winning in the same way, which is fine because like Russell got an MVP because he averaged triple dub, and Jokic is nearly doing that himself. But personally, I just think it has to be Shea, and if it's not Shea, I don't want to give it to LeBron because he's gotten robbed of a few MVPs, and him being this good, he's probably a top 3 player right now in the NBA, and we've had more than a good portion of the season. He's a top 3 player in the NBA, and I think on any given night he can be the best player, even if Jokic is on the court at 40 fucking years old. I just don't think we put enough respect on that.
Man, so much respect.
Sorry,
for the
I know
Canadian.
I talked a lot, but
you know, yes, Aura King Shea, you know, he has immaculate taste in fashion, and looking at the metrics, he does remarkable, right? He also is leading OKC to the number 1 seed and clear and above probably the best team in the league, right? Best player on that team. Like, it makes a lot of logical sense. But I actually would want to add on to that point that you were speaking on with LeBron James, right? Like, the guy's 40 and he's averaging 25, 8, and 8. These are basically the same stats he had 10 years ago when he was in Miami. And that was when he was an MVP. And let's keep it a buck. LeBron was robbed of at least 2 MVPs in his prime, right? I'm not saying to rob
and
Peter.
a defense player of the year.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not saying to rob Peter to pay Paul, but I think there's enough merit there, especially if he comes back, because right now he's out for a groin injury, right? Out for 1 to 2 weeks.
He would still need to hit 65, so he would have to come back and play the rest of the season to even be eligible.
Yeah, so he has 58 games to that point. He has 58 games right now that he's played. He can still come back like first week of April, hit 65 on the dot. That's a conversation I'd like to revisit in 2 to 3 weeks. But, you know,
plus if the Lakers aren't successful in the meantime, if they lose if they start losing games with Luka Doncic,
they're already on a loss streak. To update y'all on standings, Lakers have been on a 3-loss streak, so they lost the last 3 since LeBron has been out. So that does help. All that being said, I hate to interrupt, but I do want to add context for one of the big reasons why I feel like the discussion around Shea is just people trying to find a reason not to give it to him. We keep on talking about how well the Thunder is doing. I really want to make it clear how much better they are in their conference. The Thunder have 54 wins. The second seed is the Memphis Grizzlies with 42 wins. There are almost, 20 games left in the season. They're on pace to win over 60 games, which is 60-win seasons are rare in the NBA. That means you've won over 2/3 of your games. If you're the best player on the team that wins over 2/3 of your games, he's played almost every single game. Best ability is availability. And his team has had multiple injuries. Chet was out. J-Dub was out. Dort was missing shots, not doing anything. They had a week where they lost Chet, J-Dub, and Dort, and all they had was Shea. Every single night he goes out and wins, and he plays all defense. Another part about the metrics is I feel that the metrics numbers, it's just people being lazy. What people don't understand with advanced statistics is, without going into the ins and outs of the math, is they favor bigs. Rebounds and assists are heavily weighted. So if you have a guard like Shea, who is such a good defender that offenses scheme to avoid him, who is also leading the league in deflections, steals, and being one of the top scorers in the league. He's only been playing for a few years, and he's already has more total points than Kevin Durant. People bring up stuff like, oh my gosh, Shea has so many free throws. Yes, he's a walking bucket. That is how good. At their same points of the career, he has more points because he's just a walking bucket. And even if you take away the free throws, they're trying to find a reason to give it to Jokic or give it to, as much as I love LeBron, shout out to him, is LeBron, but I'm like, what are we doing? 54-12? Well, who is his best teammate right now out of y'all? Who is the best player other than Shea on the OKC Thunder?
J-Dub, but he's
so many injuries.
A one-year All-Star. J-Dub, a one-year All-Star, is the best other player on the team. And the rest of them were hurt, and that other player was hurt for many weeks, and they're still 54-12. And you're trying to tell me someone else, like, what are we doing? At some point, we got to be serious. Like, he leads in the metrics, the advanced metrics. You have to start picking and choosing, saying like, oh my God, Shea doesn't have as many rebounds. That's crazy. He doesn't play center.
He's not 7 feet tall.
Like,
I said he's actually leading at a lot of the advanced metrics. Shea is over
That's
Jokic.
why they stopped talking about the advanced metrics with Jokic, because a guard is beating a center in advanced metrics.
People can't read and understand metrics either. But
but
right. So again, I agree. I think it's Shea. I'm just talking about like the conversation as a whole. Yeah, I think Jokic. I don't think Jokic is as high as he. I think he's a little too high because of the defensive part of the side of the ball. Like we can't say that we didn't like literally but we didn't like completely invalidate the ability of James Harden with multiple MVPs because he wasn't playing defense. So I just find it real interesting that when this big white guy from Slovenia, I'm probably saying he's the wrong place, that when he's not playing defense as a big, that's not at all a conversation. So like there's been years where he's really good on defense, and also he's built like a plumber. So I get that he's not able to be like a lock in and guard, but like he's not even trying on defense this year. And I get it, the team isn't that good, and he's had to carry because of injuries, but he has not had injuries to the same extent that the Thunder has, and they've not won games at the same rate. I don't even think that he's had injuries in the same way. Like he's probably had more injuries than the Lakers have, but like I mean, we had street close Davis, but like Jamal Murray's been playing all year. He's just been out of shape, so we can't give you that like, oh, he was on the court, and you had to. But again, I think Shea should win MVP. Personally, I would love to see LeBron at least in second place or like most second place votes, because I just think he needs something. He's going to be first team All NBA in my opinion. I think he has to be at this point. There's no better small forward in the NBA. I don't think there's a better forward in the NBA, and I don't think it's particularly close.
It's tough to find
as of right now. I just think you have to really start. Giannis, him and Giannis need to be first team All NBA. I think that's it. For the front,
I'm about to say it's like the best forward really is. Let's be real. The best forward is Giannis. Like,
the way LeBron playing,
I could hear
LeBron ain't playing right now.
Like LeBron's my GOAT, but it's like I gotta respect what Giannis is doing. But one thing is
amazing.
Yeah. One thing that LeBron got going for him is his team, the Cleveland Browns, is making moves. You know, they're not just out here overpaying Deshaun Watson and turning the locker room against them, the entire city against them, becoming the laughingstock of the NFL. They're also paying Myles Garrett. Hey, for y'all that don't know, we'll just go a quick little round robin of major NFL signings. And we'll start with Cleveland's very own future Hall of Famer, Myles Garrett, who just signed a contract making him the highest paid non-quarterback of all time. They're paying him for about, $150 million a year, so roughly $40 million a year, being the 45. Highest paid. $45 million a year, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, with about $130 million of that total annually fully guaranteed. Man could get sick, call into work, still paid. Miss work, still paid. They trade him, they got to pay him all that. He breaks his wrist, they got to pay him every single penny. As somebody who's not a pocket watcher, well-deserved. I mean, they weren't doing nothing. Yeah. It's just funny, all considering that right before this happened, Myles Garrett made a very public statement saying that he found the Cleveland Browns organization to be, to shorten it, directionless, and not competitive, and that he wanted to go to a team that competed, and it wasn't about the money. Until they made him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, which, hey, I'm going to say, people have been trying to say stuff like, oh, you don't care about $40 million, you can send me just about anywhere. I'm sorry.
Send me to Siberia. It's funny because he didn't just make a public statement. He made the public statement, then went on a damn media tour during Super Bowl week saying, nah, dog, I want to be at this game. I want to be locked in. And what's crazy is they gave him a no trade clause, which means that they must have gave him some sort of assurance. And that's why I know they're probably drafting a quarterback at 2, because they know they have to rebuild this roster and try to get off Deshaun Watson's contract, try to get rid of that salary, try to get some salary cap relief with some insurance, whatever they got to do to get that off the books. And the NFL is a crazy time right now. Myles Garrett deserved every penny, and he probably didn't. He's underpaid because he's just that good. Like he is I think at the rate he's playing, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's why he took
I don't think first ballot just because of like the bar for first ballot that is in the NFL right now. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's an undeniable Hall of Famer. I think he's probably one of the best players in the history of the Browns franchise. Huh?
What if he were white?
I don't give a shit about that. I don't like.
If he putting up numbers like that, he's still getting paid. Like, just to run it down.
Jared Allen is not Jared. Is it Jared Allen? Yeah, he was a white pass rusher No, he was a
Jared Allen's the center for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
No, Jared Allen. There's a bunch of Jared Allen. There's like a white pass rusher that is a Hall of Famer, and then there was actually I think a guard or something. There's too many people. White people have the same name. I hate it. But my point is, like Jared Allen is nowhere near on the same planet as Myles Garrett, but he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's in the middle tier to higher middle tier of Hall of Famers. I think if he gets some really big playoff performances, I think that would help him out in terms of pushing him up. He's going to get more numbers. He's going to continue to get sacks. He's going to be elite probably for the majority of that contract. And also, I just want to give a shout out to the Browns for at least for being smart enough to be willing to pay their best players, unlike the Cowboys, unlike the Bengals, who refuse to pay their good players until it costs them literally everything. The Bengals are a sorry ass franchise. The fact that they could have paid Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson 3 years ago and saved collectively about $20 to $25 million on each of those contracts on an annual basis. But they've not paid any of them because they're
losers
stupid.
Do. You got to remember, you got to cut corners.
The best team in the league right now, the Eagles, have been the reason they're so good is because they pay everybody early. They could have given T. Higgins the same contract Devontae Smith got. They could have gave Jamar Chase the same contract Justin Jefferson got, which is like $35 million a year plus $10, and been fine. Like the Devontae Smith contract was $70 million total. Then they could have paid Henderson like 30 something. But now they're going.
What incentive is there for the Browns or any other badly run team to actually do that? You know, they're still getting the revenue splits. They still keep getting year over year increasing profits for their team. What is there really to hold that team accountable to pay their players?
If they want to win, like, because Joe Burrow
they've never won. What does that matter?
But no, my point being, like, if you want, like, it's just a thing of, like, winning gets you way more money. Like, if you spend money on players and you win, you get a lot more from, like, media and those types of things. Like, the Eagles, or it's also just, like, caring, right? It's just, like, good business. Because they're going to have to pay these people anyway.
Good business is making money. And sometimes being a sorry team makes you money. So it's like, but
if you have good players, you need to keep good players to keep people coming up to watch your games.
And good players,
the Bengals aren't going to be good for a while. But no, because they're going to lose ticket sales and people aren't going to show up.
The Steelers and the Giants are trying to get Perk Rogers.
Thank you. Now we're talking about some real business moves.
Perky
Rogers done signed with a new team, y'all. Uriel, what are your thoughts?
Hey, man, go Bears. I'm not going to get mad at these folks getting their bag. Obviously, he's over the hill, but, you know, to the extent he can
no, it's not the Bears anymore. Goodness gracious. He was going to sign with the Bears and then the Steelers, but now it might be the Giants. So
I think we're talking about Berkeley.
Who? Oh yeah, you're right, Berkeley.
Yeah, no.
Even I got it mixed up.
Berkeley.
At this point, Berkeley might have to go play for them.
Are going for him.
He might not start for Berkeley.
He probably wouldn't, but he could be a good locker room presence.
If man was able,
he'll be a grad student
in college.
He'll come back and be a grad student. That man is washed. What are we doing?
Bro, he just sounds like the Who Want Me meme. I thought he was signing with the Bears and the Steelers, and now it's the Giants. He doesn't want
a quarterback. He doesn't. The thing is, I think Aaron Rodgers needs to go. He just needs to do the thing. He just needs to go to he just needs to go to the Vikings and be bad in a playoff game at the end, and then retire. Just do the Brett Favre, because he is like. And it's funny because remember when he was a rookie and a younger player, and he was so angry at how Brett Favre was, and he was just stringing the Packers along. Then he went to the Jets and was bad. Then he went to the Vikings and was good for 1 year, and then played like shit in that playoff game in like an NFC Championship game. Just do it. Just go to the Vikings, go to an NFC Championship game, play like shit at the end, and then retire and rest in peace. Like, but also just don't do a welfare scam. Do everything but that part. Don't feel like scam poor people out of money.
He's too busy taking ayahuasca, man, stripping away his ego and just throwing out stinkers.
Be an addict, not a thief.
I mean, that's one way to go about it. I think
it is one way to do it, man. The last one is Justin Fields signed with the Jets.
I love it. I
mean, I hope he does well. I'm never going to root against Justin Fields. I'm sorry.
Garrett, that Ohio State connection, him and Garrett Wilson being reunited.
I'm all for it.
I think that's going to be a great thing for him and his confidence. I think last year in Pittsburgh, I think Justin Fields got a raw deal. I think he was very good in those first 7 games that he played, or the first 6.
But they gotta give it to Russ. He's the veteran.
Russ was not a better player. Russ could do one thing. Russ could do one thing that Justin Fields wasn't confident enough to do, which was the moon ball, which was really, in that Steelers offense, really boiled down to underthrown deep balls to George Pickens, and they couldn't do much else, and that's why they got blown out by good teams. Why they weren't able to make. That's why they got their ass kicked in the playoffs.
And that's why they're going to get Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to take them to the promised land.
The first overall pick, so they can draft Arch Manning.
Hey,
it's gonna be the first
Archie Manning
of Mike Tomlin's career. I don't even know if he's good yet. He wasn't even that good this year. Just because it doesn't matter.
He's about to sell tickets.
I hate this. Like
he about to sell out.
What don't you hate, Brett? What don't you hate?
Progress.
One thing he doesn't hate is our next segment. Our next segment being Let Him Cook. And for this segment, we have the wonderful randomizer has chosen Uriel as our first person pick from our pool of questions. Please.
Sure. So thanks to our supporters and fans. First question is, what do you think about the Newsom podcast and his rightward shift? For context, the California governor, Gavin Newsom, he released a new podcast, and he's had 3 conservative guests this last week, which are Charlie Kirk, Michael Savage, and neo-Nazi Steve Bannon. So, Duprey, discuss.
He's speed running his John Fetterman arc. I don't know if it's that bad, but genuine, he did say he's going to have Tim Walz on there. I just think that it's this white liberal notion that you can negotiate with neo-Nazis and fascists. You can't. I refuse to watch it just because I just the first one he did. He opens by saying that his son is a fan of Charlie Kirk, and I just have so many questions. I didn't even want to ruin my day. I was having a good day that day. I saw that, and it almost messed it up, but I was not going to let it kill my vibe. So I just have not engaged. I just don't get it. I don't. And also the fact that he started to make comments that just kind of go against a lot of the morals that he's supposedly been upholding as governor in terms of the LGBTQ community. I know I said that wrong. I'm terrible with acronyms, but for the starting to slowly shifting towards the right, acting like that wasn't the clear reason, that and supporting a genocide wasn't one of the clear reasons why the Democrats lost in 2024 and lost bigger than they should have, considering the stakes. I just don't get it. I understand there's a strategy, but we know the strategy doesn't work. The data shows that. And they keep doing it. So either it's not about winning elections, or they just don't care about what the right answer is. So I don't understand. I don't know.
I don't agree with it just because of what was the old term for the paradox of liberalism is you can't tolerate intolerance. People like Steve Bannon is not a genuine conversationalist. His goal is to push an agenda, and he will do so through lies in the seat. We know that he ran the modern day Breitbart. He's been pushing far right news. He's been pushing fake news, neo-Nazi ones. He was platforming and pushing racist nonsense like the white replacement theory. And I actually did watch the first few episodes of the podcast. And one of the things that concerns me with Newsom's rightward shift, and especially being new to podcasting, is he is too slow and very unwilling to push back to very clear, openly racist terms. Bannon is rushing through calling Senator Warren racist slurs, and Newsom half jokes about it. He's like, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's nothing. We call her that all the time." It's it's not nothing. You just call her a racist slur, and then Bannon moves to a new topic, and Newsom responds to it. It's bro, you need to get used to these right-wing tactics. He is a neo-Nazi. He's not trying to have a real conversation with you. He will lie to you. He will lie in front of a microphone. So when you platform him, you can't really reach across the aisle. It's not like talking to someone, a different conservative that ran for president like Mitt Romney, where they will have an actual discussion. This person is known to lie. So that's a little bit of my concern with it. It's what this isn't really like, what aisle are you reaching across? These people are not real participants.
Yeah.
This is the person who outlined the plan for January 6th from the very beginning, and Trump denying the election. He literally outlined exactly what Donald Trump did in 2020 when he lost the election. He outlined it perfectly in an interview weeks before the election. He's a Nazi. That is undeniable.
Yeah.
He did the Nazi salute. He has not ran away from it. He is proud of it. And I think also it's just a fundamental thing of like, if you're not prepared for how conservatives operate in a debate format and the constant gish gallop, the just bombardment of false information, if you're not prepared to be able to handle that, you should not be debating them, because you're just not. It's not going to go well. You're not going to be able to address all their points properly, or you're not going to know how to rebut that, and you're going to let so much stuff go unaddressed, and it's going to appear as though you're accepting it for the purpose of the conversation.
Yeah,
it's
but
just,
I think
yeah.
that's I agree that he doesn't have the experience, but I don't even think he wants to. Like, for every 5 statements that were said, 4 of them were like Newsom saying, "I agree. I want to keep this civil. Oh, good point. I appreciate this. The dialogue's great." Like, it felt like they were just playing footsie under the podcast table. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, literally within the first few minutes, like, Charlie Kirk, I know you didn't listen to the full episodes, but unfortunately I did. And in the first one, yeah, you could have saved your time.
I saw that first clip and I knew I couldn't do it.
It's like, sadly, I think the frustrating part is I see the long-term vision. Like, obviously the man wants to run for president. Like, we're not slow. He's going to term out as governor. It's like, why take a new position if you're going to try to leave or run in a couple of years? So how do you stay politically relevant? How do you meet people? There's already this big discussion of that the Democratic Party or left-wing progressives in general don't have the same presence in podcasting spaces. So I see the vision by reaching out to ones that are already super popular. Ideally, you would end up on their algorithm, so you can eventually have Tim Walz appear on an algorithm that is more conservative leaning. The problem I have with it is that I haven't really seen it work so far, just because internet in general and how algorithms work already are biased towards very emotional, extreme content, which people on the more extreme sides of the far right, neo-Nazis and the like, Breitbart and the like, will use, and buttons they will push. Racist nonsense works. Saying things like the election was stolen works. It's not true, but
he doesn't even challenge it.
He doesn't. I watched the Bannon one. He just slipped in repeatedly that the election was stolen.
5 times. Like, I know we disagree on the election. It's like, just moved on.
Like, did not challenge it. This is,
and that's my point.
Dangerous.
You're going into waters, right, where you are not prepared how to swim that deep. Because I think this notion of trying to reach across the aisle, they need to realize they're not reaching across the aisle. They're reaching into hell. And each time they reach, they sink further and further. They're getting, it's like they're fighting like a sea monster almost. They're not prepared for the type of battle because they think it's something fundamentally different. It's not an exchange of ideas. You're going against somebody who is literally going to try to drag you into the water and drown you in their sea of nonsense, lies, and deceit. If you're not ready to engage in that type of verbal combat, don't do it, because you're going to end up looking like you're agreeing with a lot of stuff that you may not agree to. And then, sometimes you're going to end up saying stuff that you may or may not believe because you're trying to be civil. Civility politics in this current political climate cannot survive in terms of actually winning elections.
You can't be civil to the uncivil. Without going into all the overloaded, super long words, because I know we're trying to avoid all that. You can't, because if somebody's whole ideology, using literally a neo-Nazi belief of people that are not of my race, nationality, or culture are lesser, do not have rights, and should not be listened to nor respected, you cannot have their ideas in a marketplace of ideas, because the irony of it is it will kill other ideas. You can't have someone whose entire foundation is people that aren't me are lesser and shouldn't be listened to. You can't sit down and say, well, I feel differently. Like, no, you kick them out completely. That's it. You have to have a understanding that all people need to share. And sadly, he does not. And that's what frustrates me when you call people like Bannon a conservative. It's like, Bannon is not a conservative. nor is Bannon a populist. When you let him keep on saying, I'm populist, I'm populist, I'm populist, the Democrats lost because they use populist messaging, populist messaging, populist messaging. It's like he is a neo-Nazi using populist rhetoric to enrich and empower himself and his people. And he literally plotted a terror attack on January 6th that he somehow got away with.
Yeah.
And you're going to give him a platform.
Yeah.
And then
I think
you're
the
not
only
going to be
silver
prepared to... Yeah, go ahead.
I think the only silver lining to this, actually, quite frankly, is that he might inadvertently tank his chances in 2028. I know that's the whole reason he's even doing this, but when you're turning on your own base, when you turn on immigrants, you turn on LGBTQ folks, when you turn, like, he literally didn't even stand on repealing Prop 209 with like all the Black Lives Matter issues. He literally said, I never believed in defunding the police. Like, he just is obliterating all of the years of support that he tried building in California to what? To try to pander to the right. I don't see that being a recipe to make it past the Democratic primary, but you know, that might pave the way for an actual progressive in 2028.
And so go ahead, Chad.
Oh, no, I'll let you finish.
So and then again, when I say there's no data, we saw Kamala Harris campaign to the right of Joe Biden in 2020. There was a 0% shift of Republican voters that peeled off. She could not peel off any Republicans campaigning to the right of her predecessor. She could not peel off the people she sent Liz Cheney to try to go get. They did not vote for her.
True.
There's no data that demonstrates this is an effective strategy in this current political climate. So doing it is willful ignorance, and it's just a crazy train of nowhere. There's no other way to talk about this.
Yeah, we'll see if we stick the landing. I see the vision thus far. I have more questions and concerns of it in the long run. But again, we'll have to see because he's trying to podcast his way to the White House. At the very least, I think he'll podcast his way to the podium. And a lot of the rhetoric is very clear to me that he doesn't want to be seen as the Californian, which you're trying to run it for the entire campaign, for the entire country. I guess being seen as the Californian is a problem. But hey, there's a million other things going on. We'll see what happens with the next few episodes. Like he said, he's going to bring in more voices, more Tim Waltz. I'm just waiting until he brings on Alex Jones at this point because this is what it's looking like. But
bring on Dubray, man.
Yeah, Dubray. What about you? I mean, we got sent a lot of questions, a lot of questions involved. So, do you want to pick any of our viewer questions to wrap us off? Let's try to something a little bit more positive. We've been talking a little bit too much about attempted coups and anti-liberal podcasts.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. So I'll add. Is it I pick one for me or do I ask my y'all?
For all of us, it's user submitted questions.
Okay. So I will pick one because I think I have a good answer, and I'll let y'all go first. You lose your memory. What show or movie are you rewatching first? And assuming that you can get your memories to know what you actually like. Or what? No, actually, better question. What show or movie or series would you like to experience for the first time again? That's the better question.
That's tough. I'll just go with the basic answer and just say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I'll just go with the basic one. It's one of my favorite series of all time. It just hits like all my nerdy interests. Like philosophy nerd, reading alchemical history, global politics, race politics, cool fight scenes, emotion, romance. It had all thrown into one, and it was accessible for me as a young kid when I first read it as a child and loved it. Then watched the anime as it got animated around like my youth years, like teen years mostly, to finally really understanding and appreciating it when I became a young adult, watching it many years after it was over with my friends who first saw it. So I'd probably say that one just because the story is engaging, the pacing is one of the few stories that I would give, even though no story is perfect, of course, it's a 10. Like, of course you can find notch, it's a 10. I mean, to me, 10 just means as close as you can get. Like, once you start going like, well, this chapter was, it's like, bro, it's a 10. Like, it doesn't have flaws, of course, it's a 10.
64 episodes a peak. Go ahead, Udio. Oh. Try to find another one since Chad stole my answer.
I think that's a
Well,
solid
I can pick
answer.
a different one.
Hey,
I can also see
great,
how
hey, great minds think alike, Chad. Peak is peak. I ain't mad at it.
Yeah, I think that show also probably maybe just put a seed in Chadwick about advocating for children. You know, with Nina Tucker. You know, just
yeah, yeah. It was just kind of clicked. I was like, yeah, you know, this show's got a lot of child soldiers. I did not really like that.
You know.
One thing also I liked about the show is they pointed out, like, hey, it's kind of messed up. We're sending a 13-year-old to fight for their death. I'm like, finally, a show finally says it. Why are you sending your grown men?
The quiet part out loud. I'm like, this is violence.
You are a 27-year-old war veteran. You're sending a 13-year-old? Do your job.
Lock in. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I will say, Roy Mustang, the GOAT.
Legend.
In terms of shows that I would pick to relive, might be biased, but it might be my most recent excursion, actually, where I've gone through many magnificent lands, all in search of the One Piece.
All right.
Here it is, real.
You don't need to restart One Piece. It's been out for like
baby.
No, Chadwick,
And again, it's to experience for the first time. To experience for the first time. Why change the question?
Just watch the second episode. It's been 30 years since it came out. It's new.
Chadwick, you don't get it.
You gotta lock in, Chad.
I like One Piece. I do. Like, I'm a casual. I feel like it's because y'all are super fans. I'm a casual.
No. Like, I wanted to riff on this so bad. I withheld from watching this show for like a good 20 years. I knew it was out. I saw it since I was a kid. I still thought it was corny, and I was like, nah. And then Mr. Dubray Sanders, he kept pitching it. A bunch of other friends kept pitching it too. I'm like,
it's good.
Y'all just overrating it. No, it's worth it. It's peak. I am actually very, very hyped for the reanimation that's about to be released in April. Because I feel like some folks can get a little off put by like the 1990s, like early 2000s form of animation. But if you get over that hurdle, it's a wrap.
The reanimation is going to be great, especially because they'll be doing the Dragon Ball Z Kai treatment and cutting a lot of the fillers, speeding up the pace, little things like that, which I think is going to make One Piece even more popular than it already is. As y'all know, one of the reasons I'm a casual is because of the pacing. Like, I still like the story, still like the world building, but I'm in and out because I'm like, bro, I'm not about to tune in week to week. You know, you're right, I should.
The manga or One Piece,
I used to read. I started off with the manga up until like the 30th or 40th volume, so like the early One Piece. For a while, I was reading a lot of the manga. And then I switched to the anime because, you know, grew older, started moving around and stuff. So it was just easier to watch the anime.
I will give you my Viz account if that would help you read the manga. I have a Viz where you can go through and read everything, like the subscription. Peak. So me personally, like my original answer of why I changed the question was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because it is my favorite work of fiction. I don't think, and
it's up there for me too.
It is my favorite work of fiction, just because of like I've been always a philosophy nerd my entire life. I grew up in church, and I've been an atheist for most of my adult life, and that whole thing, and just always exploring. And I felt it was one of the best depictions. Like, you know, like there's Plato's, like the notion of Plato and his philosophy. I felt like, damn dog, like if you want to learn about Plato, just watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, that's almost like yes. And like, but with a little bit of guidance, if you just watch that, you would have a really decent understanding of where Plato worked. Like, there's the world of things, and there's the world of ideas, which and then the notion of how they portrayed God, so to speak, absolutely fantastic. The ending with Edward and how he and how he kind of reached in fiction is always the, so to speak, answer, right? Of like when the main character has to figure out before the series can end, and they can kind of really achieve that last step. It's not even always about a power, but like that growth. Him coming to the answer of that series, cinema, truly cinema. I will say something different, just to not be like tripling down on the same things. Shawshank Redemption,
great pick,
is one of the greatest films of all time. It is
wonderful performances too.
Great performances. Great, just like it was such a societal like talk. Like it speaks a lot to how our prison system works and the corruption that happens and the way that the people are dehumanized and kind of torn down as people and turned into to just a number with and not to from a name to a number. It outlines that so what, but the fact that, and also the human spirit and the perseverance to continue being willing to live no matter what you have to do that. To live on your own.
The baptism motif when he's freed, when he finally escapes, where it's just like the part of the redemption is just like once you take people out of those walls and give them a chance, a redemption, a baptism in the rain, they can become positive members of society. A lot of these things might just be because they are in those areas, in those walls. That's a great one.
And then I might have to actually watch it. Haven't actually watched it.
Oh, yeah, no, you should. It's worth the hype.
You have to watch it.
Great film.
Bro, you have to watch it. And also because there's another character, and it shows both spectrums, a lot of the different ways that people react after being released from the carceral system in this country. Somebody committed suicide. They literally got, and they left, and they couldn't function in the world anymore, in the regular world anymore. They literally felt that them being released was worse than, they wanted to stay in jail. That's what prison and being incarcerated can sometimes do to people. It covered like almost not every experience, but a wide variety of how the carceral system in this country, because it's not like this everywhere else. In other like civilized, or not civilized, but advanced nations, it is not like this. It is uniquely terrible in the United States of how we treat people in our carceral system, and the way that it changes people. This movie shows so much of that and how that works. It is cinema. It really is
cinema. Worth the hype. Worth the wait to watch. Yeah, it goes all over the human spirit and the like. But unlike Shawshank Redemption, we do not have 4 walls and metal bars keeping us in, so we are getting to time. Thank you so much, as always, y'all, for tuning in and listening. My name's Chadwick. That's Uriel and Debre. We are waiting for our golden child, Kenny, to come back, but he'll hopefully be here next week for us to go over any of the other topics that y'all sent to us. So we are the Loud Minorities Podcast. As always, we love spending time with y'all, and we look forward to next time.
Please like and subscribe.